It's been 3 months since my transparent video investigation into Em-8er started, and it's been a wild time and we have some wild updates. Some folks want to suppress the truth, but we're not going to let that happen. Wikipedia keeps removing easily verifiable pieces around Em-8er. Just a simple thing like the amount of money that he has admitted to crowdfunding in a recent video with Upper Echelon. This is why video journalism is so important. If you enjoy this video, please drop it a like, please share it. We're gonna talk about everything that led us up to where we're at today with all the appropriate context. Now, I can acknowledge I am human. If there's anything that I've gotten incorrect, let me know. I'd be happy to address it. And like always, all my sources and information are there. You can review and see what conclusion you come to. I think we'll be pretty aligned. Thank you for the overwhelming support, everyone. I really appreciate it. And to the people that are irrationally mad at me for pointing out the obvious, I'm not your enemy. Crowdfunding scandals or blunders, whatever you want to call them, are pretty apolitical. And when it's coming from one of the larger and more divisive voices in gaming, it needs to be brought to light. Even if it's my small channel doing it. Do I have a bias? Sure, everybody does. I don't like Grummz. I'm probably a bit left on the political spectrum. But who really cares? People are complex and nuanced, and people on the right side of the political spectrum are coming to the same conclusions. There are plenty of people I don't like, and I'm not talking about their crowdfunding scandals, because, well, there isn't one for them. In today's video, we're going to dig into the background on Mark Kern, a deep dive into the development of the demo of Em-8er, his reaction to our initial investigation, and recent events including banning backers from Discord and lying to backers on a voice chat called his Chief Chats. And we'll also talk about what's upcoming and what's next. One thing I want to make clear, because Mark loves to cosplay as a professional victim. There are victims in this, but they are the backers that Grummz has misled, as well as the entire crowdfunding scene. There are some people that will never crowdfund another game because of their experience backing Em-8er. Mark, you've had the opportunity to refute all these things about Em-8er, but instead you criticize my character because you cannot argue the facts. Let's lay out a bit of history about Mark Kern. Quick background on Mark Kern: he worked at Blizzard in 1997, he worked in Diablo 2, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and he left Blizzard in 2005. His next step in that same year was to co-found a game development company called Red 5 Studios alongside 3 other former Blizzard employees. He played a big part in the development of the game Firefall and became the CEO of the company in 2008. So he wasn't the CEO to start, but he eventually got there. In 2013, Mark was removed from his position as CEO by the Red 5 board of directors. Mark would talk about this a little bit. He would say that he didn't accept a Chinese bribe. More recently, he said that the owners wanted WoW with guns and was offered bonuses if he agreed. He declined, and then they voted to remove him as CEO. If you ask other people, including multiple Red 5 employees, it was because he was a thoughtless man who was terrible with money. Which again is consistent with what we're going to talk about. I mean, listen to him talk about the notorious Firefall bus.
We're going to use the esports bus we created, this gigantic 20-seat thing. It's got a built-in television studio, built-in server cluster, supports up to 3,000 players.
One of many unsuccessful ventures we'll be talking about. In September of 2014, he started a studio called MEK Studios. They got $1 million in seed funding for an Oculus Rift Minecraft-like project. It was called Voxelnauts. But by May of 2015, he was gone from the company. The official Voxelnauts Twitter said he was thrown out of the company because of financial irregularities. Maybe that's a topic for another video, though. Sometime in 2015, Crixa Labs was established. Mark said this about Crixa Labs in 2017, that it was a company founded to develop both Crixa, the tabletop RPG, and now Em-8er, the video game set in the Crixa universe. So he's the CEO of his new company, Crixa Labs, right? Not exactly. The CEO of Crixa Labs is actually a 79-year-old person with the same last name as Mark's. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I'm really interested to know if placing somebody in a CEO role that has no involvement operationally with the company is ethical. In June 2016, Mark Kern started a petition to make a spiritual successor to Firefall. You know, the game that he claims he's the creator of. And I'll even question that. Firefall was made by a team in which he was largely absent, but his own ego wants him to take 100% of the credit for any success that it did have. Mark publicly tried to get Firefall to tank so he could buy cheap IP. Imagine a former CEO wanting all of his ex-employees to lose their job because of his own ego. His Change.org petition was really successful because people believed in Mark at that time. At this point, he was a big advocate for gamers. I think it's pretty clear that's because they're going to be his best customer. And there's a lot of things that Mark is really bad at, but one thing he's really good at is raising money. I should also mention that it looks like in January of that same year, he had a tax lien placed on his house for $265,000.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
He launched his first Indiegogo campaign in the summer of 2016. It was for one milestone of forums, website, and art for Em-8er. They delivered that and moved to the next milestone a month later. The next milestone was asking for $5,000. They smashed that and got over $20,000. This is for a number of things, including starting to build some 3D assets. This is where things start to lose the plot a little bit. So the plan is to break up the funding of the game into deliverable, playable milestones. Currently, each milestone is designed to be funded and delivered in less than 2 months. He's got a bit of funding. He believes in this milestone format, which is similar to what publishers do. You know, you get to a certain point, you get more money. Rinse, dry, and repeat. So Milestone 1 was completed pretty easy. Milestone 2, on the other hand, took about a year. Whether it's a year or a couple months, the reason why we're talking about it is Mark specifically designed his milestones to be completed within a couple months.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
After that goal is complete by the summer of 2017, he sets up another Indiegogo, this time asking for $20,000. Again, he smashes it out of the park for over $100,000. The ask for $20,000 was for a couple playable characters functioning inside and piloting the mechs, various suits, animation for the characters, weapon system concept and design, the first gun, basic shooting mechanics, scripting and coding, and sound and visual effects. That's what they were looking for from the $20,000, but remember, Mark blew that out of the water. At this point, that $20,000 was currently funding step 4 of 6 prior to the playable mock-up before the Kickstarter. And he even says no more funding's going to be needed and you'll get this as a reward. So as they continue to raise more and more money and exceed that $20,000 goal, Mark put some additional stretch goals in there, including a pile of things that are meant to appear in the final game. We'll see what happens there. And this is where it continues to fall apart. At $60,000 to fund the fully playable mock-up. $60K, this is it. We fund fully and don't have to do any more milestones. We create the playable mock-up Thumper encounter, call down a Thumper mining mech and defend it from waves of attacking Sea-Who shapeshifting between humanoids and beast modes. I played the game, I don't see any shapeshifting. Fight a giant kaiju as it grapples with your Thumper and defeat it as the climax of the encounter. I didn't see any giant kaijus. This will be a demo for a future Fund the Full Game Team fundraiser to make the final game. So Mark says that $60K will fund the full playable mock-up. He also says it'll be done in roughly 6 months, and then another month or 2 from there, it'll be time for the Kickstarter. Life is good, right? So let's recap here. In July of 2017, Mark raised $114,000 between Indiegogo and PayPal donations. He says that in 6 months, the playable mock-up should be ready. A month or 2 later, that would be the Kickstarter. So 6 months from July, you know, we're looking at early 2018. A month or 2 later, the Kickstarter is still in early 2018. Now, the last update in the Indiegogo was in 2021. Finally, the rough draft of Thumping is next week. Remember, that was supposed to be included in that playable mock-up that was going to be done in early 2018. As well, a lot of the things that were meant to be done with that $20,000, including that playable mock-up that was used to drive that funding at $60,000, that was supposed to fund everything prior to the Kickstarter. What was done were a number of things out of scope of that milestone, like a novel and tabletop game, but not even close to the playable mock-up. There was no kaijus, there was no shapeshifters, just some very slow progress from a man who was supposed to be a legend in video games. Everything was pretty quiet until July of 2018, when Mark upgraded the website to allow people that back this Indiegogo milestone to upgrade their package and pay more money. You can tell this was driven by some FOMO. Get these bikes. Bikes will never be available to anyone else in the entire game. It's only for the M3 backers. So at this point, it's been roughly a year after that M3 campaign. The one that was supposed to have that playable mock-up done in 6 months for that $60,000. And they raised almost double that. With almost double the funding asked for, I'm sure they're good, right? Nah, they're not good at all. This is the start of some really heavy phantom crowdfunding for his game. Sorry, not a game, but a demo whose only purpose is to do a Kickstarter to try to raise millions. If it's taken him this long for a demo, imagine a whole game. He also starts selling skins, which are pretty much just NFTs with no values. They're just pictures. Listen to Grummz try to sell FOMO and explain a little bit why the prices are going up.
We are doing a sale that ends after this stream. Sometime after this stream, we are doing a 50% off skins, including the lovely CSR skins that everybody loves. And they get vaulted after this, so they're not available again. Their rarities indicate how many times a year they're for sale on average, excluding special events like the one we're having right now. So, you know, like something like a rare, which is the minimum you get for the subscription plan, is about 4 times per year. And you get all the way up to, like, I think legendary, which is once per year. Then we have some exclusive ones, which are, of course, with the newcomer packs and things like that. So if you missed a skin, this is the time to get it. And it's the other thing we're doing is 20% off newcomer packs, M3 upgrades, newcomer upgrades, all of that stuff. And this is off the 2021 pricing. So you're getting 20% off the lower pricing. And after the stream, not immediately after, there's usually a grace period, I will put the prices, unfortunately, up to 22 levels, 2022. Because I think we all have recognized we can't ignore anymore the sort of like rising cost of food and gas and everything else. It's just been crazy. So, but I wanted to provide this sort of sale opportunity, give everyone a chance to get in at the lower prices at a discount before that takes effect later today. So thank you very much.
Wow, that sounds like a fantastic deal. Sign me up, sir. It's crazy that he has to raise the price because of inflation for a bunch of JPEGs and perks for a game that may or may not come out. But wasn't $60K supposed to fully fund the playable mockup, and there wasn't going to need to be any other milestones prior to the Kickstarter? Well, what's this additional money for? His excuse is that crowdfunding for games fell apart, although that's not really rooted in reality. But all that's likely a drop in the bucket to what's coming. In June 2019, Mark starts a new monthly sponsorship program. Kind of like a Patreon program, but on his own website. He made that stuff up in the bathtub like moonshine. His crowdfunding subscriber numbers grow to at least 1,500 subscribers at $7.95 a subscriber per month. Right around this peak, he took 2 years away from development without telling anybody, while still collecting and soliciting massive amounts of crowdfunding to develop this demo. An absolutely crazy thing to think about is Grummz has admitted to raising about $600,000. Based on the information that we have, it looks like $250,000 of that $600,000 was crowdfunded at a time Grummz wasn't even working on the game. And he didn't even say anything about it until he was called out. He blamed it on medical issues with his kids. He willfully knew this and continued to crowdfund. He didn't have time to develop the game, but he had time to shill the skins on Twitter, as well as have like 6-hour waifu subathon streams with him in a maid outfit. Grummz got paid $250,000, and the majority of that was likely towards his own salary. Again, this is just for a demo to do a larger Kickstarter. This ties into the reports from Red 5 Studios, where Mark would take extended absences all the time. It also ties into the stories of the mismanagement of money that we've heard. Shortly after my initial video came out, Grummz responded. Grummz got wind of it and said an anonymous YouTuber was spreading misinformation about him. As we talked about and how Grummz has already confirmed, everything's been true. Nothing we've said has been incorrect. From the stealthy fundraising reaching about $600,000, Mark took 2 years off of development, Didn't tell anyone at the time, continued to crowdfund to the sum of about $250,000. We were right about the deception of $60K funding the fully playable mock-up. We were right about the sole owner of Em-8er being someone in their late 70s. And the sole owner of Em-8er also had a debtor's lien put on their property in 2023. Now, I've tried unsuccessfully to contact the CEO of Crixa Labs. The official phone number cannot be reached. They do have a social media presence, so let's take a look at it. It's really just retweeting Grummz and Grummz-like stuff. A couple possibilities here. Perhaps this person in their late 70s is retweeting a whole bunch of culture war stuff. I don't know how likely that is, but hey, I'm not going to say it's impossible. Or maybe it's just Mark's burner account. Not going to lie, using potentially one of your parents' names for your alt is kind of weird. And it also appears that on Discord within the Em-8er server, an account belonging to the CEO of Crixa Labs, Kern, has been very active in the server from a reaction standpoint, reacting very positively to positive things and not really saying anything about anything negative. But not one message that I could actually find from them in the server. Who really knows if it's really them or if it's Mark's alt, but certainly interesting to consider. Either way, I hope this elderly person isn't being taken for a wild ride. All of this leading up to 8+ years of development and counting, about $600,000 crowdfunded, most of it pretty stealthily, a 2-year extended absence while continuing to drive the crowdfunding, and deception starting all the way back in 2017 until today. So for him to say that this is misinformation sounds like, well, misinformation from him. Mark also asked for my name and my address so we could chat. When I didn't give it to him and said, hey, you know what, I can call you Grummz, you can call me McDizzle, you can clear up any of this. He called me a pussy, so I became a backer of Em-8er. Popped in and said hi to Grummz when he was trying to record a marketing session, you know, as opposed to actually working on the game. It's a shame there's no PvP. I also shared some clips of Em-8er's gameplay, which he didn't like the world to see. So let's show some more raw gameplay. This isn't about how good or bad his work-in-progress demo is, it's about what has or hasn't been delivered against the promises. After that, he posted that certain people love cherry-picking and showing off a badly bugged model in our game before the art refresh. They won't show you what she looks like now. This is a rigged model running in the engine. Cool, but it's not in the demo. And it's also years old. Like, come on. Then he went to his Discord to tag everybody to say, hey, I own these people by posting this excellent Felly Gatestrider. People waiting for an update, you know, not 3-year-old news. And said we are getting flooded by obvious trolls after I posted the excellent Felly Gatestrider video last night. This means we are winning. They hate that she looks so good. They even tried to ruin our video capture session. Just keep in mind that not all people are being genuine here. Most of the people in that Discord care about the game's progress. They actually aren't into the whole Twitter culture war thing. This is him talking to a backer that he later banned, but we're going to talk more about that.
And, you know, to the game, you know, I supported the game. And, you know, now I'm just getting about all these things that's happening on Twitter. And I guess, you know, I feel like when you said that you were winning and you're pinged everybody, it didn't really feel like winning.
Maybe winning is the wrong word, but we will win. Maybe future tense.
Listen, it's not about winning or losing to the people that have invested in the game. It's about getting what you promised and what they expected. That trust and goodwill is generally shattered. What do you expect them to think? I mean, they've been sold FOMO and broken promises for the better part of the last decade. Now, Grummz has a No 0 Days channel in his Discord that is supposed to document all of his work that he's doing on the game. His way to put a quick little summary down of what he's accomplished. Now, on a September 27th Chief Chat, he said this around No 0 Days updates. To keep the backers informed on what's going on, he says, there needs to be no 0 days, so let's get back to that. My schedule just cleared, but I think I'm going to take the full weekends or else I'm going to burn out. He's like, I'm not going to work 6 or 7 days a week, I need to take the weekend. He says he used to take Sundays off way back when. I wonder when way back when was. But let's take the weekend off now. He says after the new skin that's going up over the weekend, you can expect a steady series of updates. Says we're going to go ahead and drop the See Who texture demo on Friday. It never came Friday, but it did come like a week later or something like that. Going to start capturing clips and start updating Twitter next week. And I don't believe that the Em-8er Twitter has been updated at all. He dropped what could just really be an art showcase of the See Who model in its own area. It's not part of the demo or not part of the game. Based on what I could see, he was working on that one enemy since the beginning of August. He also mentions in the chief chat that he had to take out a loan for the art refresh.
And by the way, there wasn't money for this art refresh. We took out loans to do it, okay? And we're still paying back those loans. So if you want to know where the majority of revenue goes now, it's a couple things. We have 10% platform fees, we've got server fees, we've got software fees, and, we have, it costs money to do the monthly skin, and then we're paying back these short-term loans, which fall off this year. These are one-year term loans at very low interest rates, thankfully.
Why does he need a loan when he's crowdfunded about $600,000 so far? What about all that money that was crowdfunded for the 2 years that he wasn't working on the game? What happened to that? Pretty reasonable question to ask because backers are stuck paying back loans and have not been getting close to what they were promised. From October 9th to October 25th, Grummz did a great job in the No Zero Days channel. But his last post was November 1st, and that was a month ago today. It was around texturing another enemy. He's saying it's very annoying to texture, and he's getting close. Either way, it's very clear from the Discord, his forums, as well as the Em-8er Reddit, that people are fed up with the disingenuous nature and presentation towards this crowdfunding project. In fact, Grummz has banned paying backers from the Discord for fair criticism, including Aaron, the guy that was talking to him in that earlier clip. He had a backers pack as well as subscribed for a year. Grummz also banned gaming critic and former backer Sid Alpha. Sid doesn't really have a tolerance for BS, and it became pretty prevalent with their interactions. Grummz accused Sid Alpha after going after Grummz's kids and took great offense. When in reality, Sid was discussing that the reasoning of taking 2 years off of making a game that you're getting paid to make, a demo, continuing to crowdfund and not owning up to it until you got called out. It's certainly reasonable to question how much of the money actually went towards Em-8er and how much of the money went towards Mark Kern's salary. Grummz addressed it, but he made sure to say we're not allowed to talk about Twitter here because he has that rule, that level of censorship on his Discord. And that was the last time Grummz addressed anything in this new complaint department channel in Discord. Even today, there was more censorship within his Discord, deleting comments that were making fun of it being a month of no 0 days. Well, a month of 0 days. That's some pretty thin skin. And that's the trend we've seen, is Grummz get called out for Em-8er, does a little bit on it, and then goes silent and hopes people forget about that. The optics of everything are really bad, and Mark is just making it worse. Do I think that Grummz will release a demo? I expect he will. With enough money, you can do anything. Something to ponder and think about. If you had about $600,000 and 8 years, do you think you could design a pretty competent demo? If we look at a comparable project, another Firefall spiritual successor called Nexus Drop, it looks miles and bounds ahead of Em-8er, and it's only been in development for like a year and a half with no funding. This is something that one guy did with no money at this point. And he's not going to raise any money until he has a solid proof of concept that he can show off. So what's next for Em-8er? He said it's going to be a big 3 months. And we're more than 2 months past that point. But he's also said plenty of things, as we discussed in the video, that didn't reflect reality. There are a number of other creators that have made videos on this, and I've shared the links to their videos in the description. Coming from all ends of the political spectrum. But then he has a small circle of people that he appears on podcasts with that don't really ask anything about Em-8er. Why is that? Well, it's because they care about culture war team sports a lot more than they do about gaming. I mean, y'all can do what you want, but are you blind? My personal message to Mark. Congrats for your accomplishments in gaming, but it doesn't give you carte blanche to take advantage of gamers. It's hard to see this as anything but that. There's no canceling, that doesn't really exist. People have the right to be informed and do their own research, come to their own conclusions, which by all accounts is pretty damning. It's not as simple, it's taking longer than expected. It's a demonstrated pattern of deception at worst, and gross mismanagement of backer funds at best. Like, how does this add up to $600,000? You haven't updated your backers in over a month, but yet you're okay with tweeting hundreds of times since then, appearing on multiple podcasts, and ignoring the project and people that have essentially paid for your livelihood over the better part of the last decade. Developing this demo that backers have paid for 10 times over isn't about you winning or losing, it's about delivering what you said you would deliver. Which at this point in December of 2024, it's been about 600k and growing when you said it would be 60k to make this vertical slice demo. You said it would take 6 months. It's been well over 6 years. You have misled backers with goals and promises that you haven't been able to keep. There's been disgusting FOMO for a game that isn't even out with these rare and legendary skins that who knows if anyone will really see. You took 2 years off without doing anything and still got called out. I mean, you continued to crowdfund so you get paid, but the game didn't really see the benefit of that. You banned critical voices from Discord, and ultimately you didn't take accountability when confronted with this. You said it was misinformation to everyone, but yet you confirmed that it was true with upper echelon. Yeah, keep winning, pal. Don't blame the woke mob for your failures, own up to it. And move forward by doing what you say you're gonna do, because you haven't done that. You call me a pussy, but you cannot even face your backers, let alone me, in a conversation. I know Elon is opening up an AI game studio and you're salivating at an opportunity for him to give you money, but your progress definitely doesn't indicate the level of efficiency he would likely be looking for. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment. Love to know your thoughts. Have a great day.